can do to this bona fide scrub.
I can take you. I can take you on a run. I can take you. That's not even. That's not even a question. That's not even a question. Come on, William. William, come on, brother. You know this. You know this.
Now,
I can
William,
take.
Yeah.
Oh, let's do it.
Hey, William, absolute pleasure. Let's go.
Yeah, man. It's great to be here, bro. It's great to be here.
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised that we're like guest number like 7 or 8. Like I was expecting maybe like guest number 2, guest number 3, but it's all good. We made it, so I'm glad to be here.
Mid-season guess. Obviously like we're brothers. It's crazy because we're quite close, so we shared a room, and we shared a room for like the first 18 years of my life. So I think inevitably that just made us close. And I think obviously like going to the same school and like being into the same things, that's definitely like made the relationship quite close. So yeah, it's just good, man. Like obviously there's a lot of people out there that don't necessarily get along with their family, so I'm just quite happy and lucky, that I get along with mine most of the time. So it's pretty good, man. Pretty grateful.
Yeah, most of the time. And yeah, even in like these days, I mean, like what Vince said, like for like the whole basically until he left for uni, we shared the same room. But even during uni, I mean, he's in Wellington, I'm in Palmerston North, so we're still quite close. We're like a couple of hours drive away, so it's we're quite fortunate that we're we still got that kind of both like physically and like kind of mentally, we're like spiritually we're pretty close in all things. Yeah. So so yeah. I'm sure you'd understand, William, because I mean you're pretty lucky because you and James and you're pretty close. Like you're both in Auckland and stuff. So that's pretty cool. Oh yeah, like you argue about like. Did you say do you? Yeah, I mean like most of the time like you're pretty close, except in FIFA because he'll probably thrash you in FIFA. Like with everyone else.
Not gaming. Gaming's a different story.
Gaming, yeah, but we'll get to that later on. Classic. Now, Muslim has been like seriously, like it's been like when I talked to back in first year, when I told like my friends at like my degree that I went to a Muslim college, 500 students, like they just kind of laughed in my face and they were just like, oh, so you basically like went to a shit school. But like it's been one of like the best blessings I've had. Like it's like being in a small school like that, like you get to know everyone so well, and it feels like, I mean, I can't, like it feels like every other day, or like at least like a few moments a week, like you just can't like help but just like appreciate like the camaraderie and just how close everyone is. And but yeah, definitely I agree with you with the basketball games, man. They can get quite sweaty. I mean, if it all comes down to it, like, yeah, probably the number one thing that's like synonymous with like Marcelin is like, yeah, like the basketball culture is great. Like, and I think it started like in our, like, I want to say in our year, like it's always been there. It's always been there, but like I think ever since like our dad, like mine and Vince's dad started coaching there, like the basketball culture just kind of exploded, and it's been just part of the Marsland life, and that I just cannot like I'll take that. I can say so for myself. Like I'll take that.
Oh, Pat Riley.
The
I
comparison
don't know
is
about
there
Pat
for me,
Riley.
though.
I don't know about Pat Riley. Pat
I mean,
Riley's the GOAT.
yeah. I
Pat
mean,
Riley's
the
the GOAT.
intellectual side, he's a bit lacking, my dad. But no, but just like just the passion that he put into the game, like and the passion that he like kind of instilled in the school, like when it came to basketball, it kind of just became infectious with like, you know, the school, and yeah, and it's just it's just been great. Like the it's definitely one of the highlights as well for me. Like just reliving all the basketball, like, you know, lunchtime sessions and even just trainings and whatnot. So that's, I definitely agree with you on that one. And I think the second thing, which I've already kind of touched on, is like just the family spirit, eh? Like, I mean, being at one of like the pillars of our school, it's, I feel like that's a
Muscle and pillars.
yeah, 6'10". Yeah, but
Muscle
bro,
and core pillars.
you gotta put that in there,
That's
man.
the
Come
one,
on.
man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, but like seriously though, like it's something that I like, that I still kind of use, like, you know, like at my work, because I do childcare at the moment, and it's something that I try to promote, like, you know, try to instill in everyone, is like being like a family, like connecting like with each other, and it's just, yeah, it's something that that was so important, like during my time at Marsland. It's just forming those relationships. So in general, yeah, I mean, I couldn't have asked for like a better school to be a part of. What about you, Vince?
Yeah, man. I think the fact that it was such a small school, I think it was great. Like you definitely had the opportunity to get to know everyone, and it wasn't cliquey like a lot of high schools that are quite bigger. I think the fact that, you know, you only had about 90 or even sometimes less than that in your year group inevitably made you go out and make more connections. And it was good, like you would walk into school every day and you would know, like even if you didn't know someone at a friendship level, you would still know them, like you would know of them and they would know of you. And that was the best thing, was that it was never awkward. And when you saw each other like on the bus or on the train or, you know, wherever out in town, you would just be like, oh yeah, that guy goes to my school. And you know that if anything was ever to go down, if you ever needed help, or if you ever were in trouble and you saw someone that you knew went to your school, went to Marsland, and even if you weren't friends with them, they would know of you and you would know of them, and you know that they would have your back. Like that was probably one of the best things, is that, you know, I think if we were a much bigger school, you know, and that situation happened, you would be like, oh yeah, that guy went to my school, but I don't really want to help him because I don't really know him that well. Whereas at our school, you sort of had that sort of instant connection, that, you know, we were so small that everyone was sort of close inevitably, like by default. And, you know, we were so tight knit in that way that you ended up pretty much interacting with everyone by the time that you left school. Like if you were there from year 7 to 13, there was a point where you would interact with pretty much like most of the people there. So yeah, that was great. That's my favorite. That's definitely my favorite. 100%. 100% agree with you. Yeah, especially basketball games. Oh man. No, I mean, you know, some, like everyone was like, oh, we didn't make all the big tournaments, but all the games that we played, everyone played 110%. Every team, doesn't matter what team you were, you know, everyone would give 110%. We never made any of the big tournaments, but every game that we played, we made sure that we were out there to win. Played together, you know, played hard in the way of Marsland, you know.
Let's go.
Oh.
I think you're gonna say in the way of Mary.
Nah.
Marsland pillars. Nah. For me, not to be honest, for me, like basketball wise, I mean, like being part of the teams is great. I think for me, definitely like the street ball basketball for me is was so much more memorable. Because like what you said, like it's just so hype. Like, and that's the thing with playing basketball and like playing like the street ball in Marceline is that if as long as you want to play, like we're accepting of that. Like we'll let you have a turn. And that's when most of the time, that's when the most hype. Like that's when there's the most hype. Like you were there, William. Jade versus Leon. You were there.
Oh yeah,
you were there when Caleb P pump fake Brandon. You know, like just the small things like that. You know, I mean, you recorded that shit. So you know, it's just the small things like that like, I mean, just like the hype moments like that, like those things I just can't like. It's incomparable. Like the feeling of being part of that. You can't like. I can't even compare it to like being part of like an actual basketball game. But yeah, it's definitely the hype is there. No.
Nah, best reliever, Miss Lawrence. Best reliever, Miss Lawrence, hands down.
Miss Lawrence.
Miss Lawrence, that's the best reliever, bro. In terms of graduating, I haven't officially got my degrees yet, but I have finished both my degrees. So I finished about a couple weeks ago. So I've just finished my Bachelor of Arts in History and Classics and my Bachelor of Laws. And it's been I'm just, the question is what did I overcome? I overcame a long grind. So it's six years worth of uni. It's crazy, man. And I think you asked the right question because it's really hard to stay focused in such a long grind. Like there's a point in time, especially when you're in the middle, like maybe year 4 or 5, there was times where I was, like, what am I doing? Like, where am I going with this degree? Because it just felt like such a routine. You were in the same routine for 6 years. But I think the most important thing that I remembered was that I was doing it because I've always wanted to be a lawyer since as far as I can remember, since I was little. And that helped me stay focused because that told me, I was like, this is my goal. This has always been my goal. But it is quite normal for people to get lost and like become unmotivated at certain points, especially in the middle, because it is such a grind and you just feel like you're doing the same thing every single day with no sort of ulterior purpose. People just become narrow-minded, and I definitely became narrow-minded. And I just felt like everything that I was doing was just, okay, get this done. Okay, get this done. Sometimes I lost the actual bigger picture and where I was going. But then as soon as I remembered that definitely helped me stay focused. And now, I just got a job. So I'm real happy that I get a solicitor job next year that I get to start. Well, actually it's a clerking job. And then when I get admitted, I become a solicitor. So I'm really happy and I'm really thankful for that opportunity, especially in this economic climate, given Corona. So I'm just really looking forward to that, and I'm really excited.
Yeah, for me, I think I'm kind of like in the same situation as Vince. So I'm a couple of weeks away from my graduation. I'm graduating from my Bachelor of Aviation. Why didn't you clap for Vince? Oh, what a sad.
Oh.
What a sad. What a bias.
Oh.
No, all good. Yeah. So I'm a couple of weeks away. I was supposed to graduate. I'm still salty about this. I was supposed to graduate on my birthday. But COVID, so it's all right. It's good. Anyway, I'm gonna graduate eventually. Fingers crossed. Nothing else is gonna happen. Nothing else wrong is gonna happen. I think for me, the number one motivator for me, like when kind of, when, as they say, when shit hits the fan, for me, it's just like being thankful for the opportunity to actually continue my studies, like at a higher level. In New Zealand, like a lot of us like have the opportunity to do that, like in whatever way, like, through scholarships, or whether it is like just to share, like, maybe just because your parents are like, you're just fortunate enough your parents are able to financially support you or whatnot. Like there's a lot more people in New Zealand that can get a tertiary qualification, but in other parts of the world it's just like for most people, it's just so hard to get that opportunity. So for me, like when I feel like quitting, or when I feel like I just don't want to, when I feel like not giving it my all, it's just kind of just kind of taking a step back and just think about what I've done so far and how close I am to the end, and just kind of using that to push myself through. And you do, like, once you get the ball rolling again, like you just keep that momentum going. And that definitely helped me through the tough times, because it's like in like on average, like relatively like a thankless industry like aviation. It's you rarely get like you don't get a lot of affirmation. So to have like self-motivation is like a key part of it, like a key part of completing any aviation qualification. So for me, it's just all about being thankful, constantly reminding myself to be grateful for my situation, and using that to like keep like driving myself. Oh, appreciate it, man.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah.
Hey, look, man. Hey, you done some pretty good work too. I've been keeping up with your social media stuff, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. I think you should be proud of what you've done too, man. I think you've done some pretty great things.
Yeah.
I think you should keep going at it, especially with a lot of the technology media stuff. And I know that you're real passionate about it, bro. So I think you should just keep going with it.
Yeah. Now is like such a great time for you, like, to be involved in like doing like vlogs like these, and like being like proactive in like social media and stuff like that. Because I mean, like look at like all the celebrities that have turned to like YouTube and stuff to like to do in their spare time because of this corona stuff. So it's definitely like a field that like to be in. It's the field to get into. So yeah.
Yeah, Duncan Robinson, man, he's a specialist.
Is that also because you spam threes when you play 2K as well, or that's part of it as well? Eh? Yeah. Now I'll let your fellow Miami fan take the mic, because
I think I think being from the Philippines, I think basketball is inevitably part of your life. When you're born, you're just born into it. Literally everyone in the Philippines either plays basketball or follows basketball to some level, whether it's NBA or PBA or the local village league. Everyone in the Philippines will follow basketball or will play basketball at some point in their life. So that's how we got into it. So ever since I was little, as far as I know, as I can remember, basketball was the first sport that I ever played, and I still play it now. Obviously, we play other sports on the side, but basketball is always going to be the number one. I think it's just a really, outside of the sport itself, I think it teaches you a lot of stuff. It teaches you a lot of, just like any other sport for that matter, teamwork, sportsmanship, determination, hard work. Especially, I think learning it in the Philippines was something else, because obviously Philippines isn't like New Zealand. So the way that you play and the way that you see basketball in the Philippines is different to the way that you see it in New Zealand. And the Philippines definitely has a bit more of a escape aspect. Like, people play basketball to escape the hard things in the Philippines. That's what I've noticed. Obviously in New Zealand, people have that same view as well, but in the Philippines, that's the prevalent view. My favorite basketball team is definitely the Miami Heat, and my favorite player. It's weird because I've always liked the Heat. When I was younger, I loved the 90s and like late 80s Heat. So like the Tim Hardaway Heat, the Alonzo Mourning Heat, the Vandy Heat, like that. Like Rice, Hardaway, Jones, those guys, Mourning. And which is weird because I've always loved that culture. Like the Heat culture I think is a real thing. And if you're not a Miami Heat fan, you don't understand the Heat culture. I think it's been there since the Van Gundy era. But my favorite player has always been Ray Allen, because I remember him when I first saw him when he was in Milwaukee, and that was when he played inside and out. He played both ways. That was before he was just a shooter. Yeah, he was dunking on everyone. And then He Got Game came out, and then obviously that made me like him even more. So it's weird because I've always liked the Heat, and I've always also liked Ray Allen. But then when Ray Allen played for the Heat, I was like, well, this is the best, you know. And then he won a ring with the Heat. So yeah, and I think Ray Allen is just a great person in general. I actually have his book right here. I've got his book, which I am yet to read this summer. But yeah, I love him. I think he's a great person. He's a great role model, great dad, great father figure, just a person in general. Yeah. Besides his game, that's what I love him for.
Anyway, for me, I'll start off with my favorite team, because it's a funny story, that one, because like Vince, like I was raised up in the game of basketball, being a Filipino boy. It's kind of like it's almost as staple as rice in the Philippines. It's like basketball. Even if you don't play it, it's like you understand that it's part of the culture. And for me, I never really had like a favorite team or a favorite player growing up. It was more so I got a favorite team solely through 2K. Like the very first 2K that I played like religiously might have been 2K12, and I did like the My Player and all, and I got drafted by the Jazz, and from that point onwards I was like, let's just
Genway, bring back the Genway days.
Genway Patsatsu. That's the GOAT My Player. First season league leader in points, steals, assists, 3 points made. Freaking swept the playoffs.
On rookie mode.
Nah. Hall of Fame.
Pro. Nah, not Hall of Fame.
Nah, pro.
That was on pro.
Not pro. Nah, rookie mode. That's Williams. That's Williams mode.
Oh.
Nah, but definitely. Yeah, I mean, I think from that point onwards, like I was just a Utah Jazz fan. Yeah, that one.
That 2K.
Yeah, it's that one where like 3 teams visit you, and I mean the Jazz just believed in the Norwegian hype, you know. That is Genway. Is that? Yes, that is Lillard. Yeah, that is Lillard's rookie year. And that's that was the same year as when Alec Burks got drafted in the same year as me. And I mean, thankfully, Utah went with the GOAT Genway, because as proven by Alec Burks' actual career, he's trash. Where does he play for now? Like Cleveland? He's like the star player for Cleveland.
No, Sixers, isn't he? Oh, he got traded? Yeah, he got traded.
Nah, he's in Cleveland, I think. Anyway, that's how much of a scrub he is. I mean, he can't shoot. I mean, he's injury prone. I mean, we like the Jazz, man. Seriously, what's up with us just drafting like injury prone people? Like
not Donovan
Burks. Well, Burks, like Hayward's getting injured in Boston. Freaking what's his name? Dante. Fuck! Don't get me started with.
Oh, Dante Iggs.
That guy just getting
Iggs.
As Conor McGregor would say, a gust of the wind, and he does the chicken dance. You know, like I mean, every other week, like when he comes back, he just breaks his leg or like ACL or MCL. Nah, man.
Conley's a good fit. Conley's a good fit.
I mean, he's the reason why. Yeah, because D-Mitch isn't a pure point guard. Like he's definitely like he's our main scoring option, but he's most effective when someone gives him the ball and then he does something with it. Like I don't think he's like got that that mindset of a pure point guard yet. And And I think Conley can help him develop. Like, I think Conley's already kind of been a mentor to him in some way, but I think Conley's got a couple of good years in him left. And yeah, so I think keep him for a couple more years and maybe like, like have him like, like kind of finish his career there. I don't know if he likes it or not. I don't know. I don't know what the Jazz needs to do to get to like, like the finals picture. It's weird because we've lost to the Nuggets 2 years in a row now. You know that? 2 years in a row, 2 Game 7s in a row. That just pisses me off.
Paul Heyman, isn't that the guy that carries the Undertaker stick? That's him?
No, that's Paul Bearer.
Who's
Paul Heyman? That's Brock Lesnar's guy. He looks like Paul Bearer. He's like, my name is Paul Heyman.
Oh, the little guy.
The guy with the ponytail.
Yeah. Nah, if I could have any two people, I think it would be number 1 would definitely be Ray Allen. He's up there. Number 2, probably. Oh, tough. Probably Pat Riley, maybe. I think it'll be great to just pick his brains, just like his basketball brain, his business acumen as well. I think he's just a very intelligent man. He's also a very like ruthless and cunning man. He's very, if he wants something, he's gonna go out and get it. And number 3, tough one. Probably like Martin Luther King, I think, because I studied him quite a bit over uni. I always had a fascination for like African American history. So when there was an opportunity for me to study American history, I would always try and focus my assessments on like Black culture and Black history. And obviously Martin Luther King came up in so many of the historic events in American history. So yeah, those would be my top 3.
Yeah, man, I don't know, because I guess
number 1 would be Ennis Cantor for you.
That guy can.
Ennis the GOAT Cantor.
I don't know where this whole Ennis Cantor thing.
Yoba.
You know what? To be honest, that guy can carry like a conversation. Like, if you give him like the right topic or like the right kind of push, like that guy is the life of the party. Like, he's the life of the group. I'm definitely gonna, but like, just because I don't want to say as a filler, because I can think of 2 people. I can think of 2 people that I definitely want to have a sit down with. But for that third person, definitely over. Just fucking lols, honest to God. I'd say number 1 would be Stanley.
Stanley the GOAT.
Stanley the GOAT, for sure. I mean, one of the innovators, one of the comic pioneers. That guy has, I mean, that guy made it. Like, that guy's made it. Like, he's Spider-Man. Like, what else can I say? Spider-Man's like, I'd say he's my favorite superhero. So to kind of get into his mind about like, like his ideas on what Spider-Man would be like, what it was to him, and it would have been so like, it would have been so surreal. Rest in peace to them, though, obviously. But and the other person would, I had it in my mind, but then it's slipped now.
But man,
but,
maybe like a young brother JP, like 1958, Marcelin College assistant principal, brother JP, man. That guy would have swag. He would have drip.
There you go. One of the goats. I'd say for me, since I haven't really thought that much about that question, probably Ernest Cline, which is my favorite author. I mean, if you don't know him, he was the author of Ready Player One, which is my favorite book ever. Turned into a movie. The movie was quite nice, but yeah, I'm a big geek at heart, so definitely that conversation, if it was like between Stan Lee and Ernest Cline, that would just be like a nerd's like dream, like a nerd's like mega like ultimate like nirvana, like ultimate like peak. But that's never gonna happen. And having Yoba there would just be like, would just be your brain on acid. Like that would just be like a whole new level. No, but that's probably gonna change because so thinking about it now, I don't want Yoba ruining like the whole conversation. If you're watching this, Yoba, I mean, he'll understand. But yeah,
What I want my future to be is obviously I'm looking forward to starting my new job. I'm really excited about that. It's just one step closer to living the dream of being an actual lawyer. So get to start my job at a firm, do the thing that I've always wanted to do, and then study to get admitted into the bar, and then get admitted and then start practicing as a lawyer. That's, the next 5 years, that's the goal for me, is to learn as much as I can about the legal profession and helping people along the way and like engaging with people's needs. That's always why I wanted to be a lawyer. So yeah, that's what I want. That's what I want my future to be. Obviously we can never plan things 100%, but perfect world, that's what I want it to be.
I can definitely talk about not thinking too far ahead with this whole COVID thing kind of throwing a curveball in my plans. But for me, right now I'm just enjoying the decrease in workload at the moment, to be honest. So kind of just riding the wave, to be honest. This whole kind of lockdown COVID thing has kind of put things into perspective. Like for me, like it's kind of taught me or kind of made me realize like, cool, it's nice to aim for like, aim to go somewhere, to be at a certain position like in 5 years, 10 years time. But for me, it's just like wherever it takes you, I mean, to some extent. I mean, you can't be too you gotta have some like, gotta start working on getting those savings up, but for me, I think it's just kind of enjoying life for me. I don't want to say I'm at a crossroads, but for me, it's just I've done my studies. It's everything's in it's up to me now. I don't know. I'm just enjoying life at the moment. Not really thinking too much.
Do your best and let God do the rest.
Yeah. To God be the glory.
To God be the glory. Yeah, it's real tough, eh?
Yeah,
like the uncertainty, definitely, bro, definitely.
Yeah. I think for me, I've like even before finishing the degree, even like I think it was like maybe mid last year. No, it was actually mid last year, end of last year. I kind of knew that I was gonna take a year off. In the sense, like I was gonna get like like full-time job and start building up on savings and kind of getting into the mindset of like a full-time working adult. But it's been great, to be honest. Like for me, the number one focus for me definitely this year was improving on my health. Because like start of last year, like I was at peak performance, 97 kgs of pure lean. No, I was kidding. I was
Get
a
out
slob.
of here.
I was a slob.
Get out of here, brother.
And I knew that I want to like kind of I wanted to set like a long-term goal for myself to shed as much of that as possible. So with this like this whole gap year for me, like I've been able to set time aside for that, and it's one of the, I guess it's a silver lining in this of 2020 for me, is improving that, like this aspect of my life. And seriously, like for me, like improving my physical health has just made a lot like more aspects of my life better or like easier to cope with. Like I have a lot more, like a ton more energy, like every day. Like I don't feel lethargic, like like every day, and like emotionally, like I'm a lot more like composed, and it really is like, yeah, it's been one of the best things I've ever done, like in recent years. So yeah, and yeah, I just can't wait to like like do all the other things that I used to do, like pre-lockdown, like play basketball with my friends, or like, because I haven't played basketball in a while, and I just can't wait to get back into it with like having like better physical health. No, do note though, like I can still thrash Vince back when I was at 97 kgs. So just imagine what this lean frame can do to this bona
Well,
fide scrub.
I can take you. I can
You
take you
got
one on one.
you
I can
got
take you.
small hands. You got
That's
small
not even a
hands.
question. That's not even a question. Come on, William. William, come on, brother. You know this. You know this.
Now
I can
William
take this
knows
guy.
William knows what's up, man. William's seen both of us play. William's seen both of us play, and I'm sure this conversation between me or you, it's an easier conversation to have than MJ or LeBron. I mean,
Hey, William. William, you know I can take this guy. You think you've done an excellent job of doing that, man. I think you just keep working hard, keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. I remember your high school stuff.
Yeah, and it's yeah,
For sure.
and I can say the same. Like I actually, yeah, we're so like proud that you're actually like like following like what you've stuck to, like what you believe in, wanting to like do like ever since high school. Like you've always, and that's the thing with you, like despite like your like setbacks and like the cards you've been dealt, like you've always strived to like communicate, like to share your to share,
Oh,
like
man.
just to share, and it's just such a pleasure to like to see, and yeah, we wish you the best, man. Like all things are looking up for you, man. Like
yeah, bro, just keep it up. You've done an excellent job, man.
You go, Vince.
It's tough because there's two. So my first one would be my favorite Bible verse. So it's 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 7. So that says that, for we walk by faith, not by sight. So that's always been my favorite Bible verse. I think it speaks volumes to how I approach life, and how I tell people they should approach life even if they're not religious. I think it's important to remember that, not necessarily having faith in God if you're not a religious person, but having faith in yourself. So I think faith in yourself, like belief in yourself, should be the main motivation for you to do whatever you want to do and what you want to achieve, not what you can see. So not the immediate surroundings, not necessarily what's going to happen tomorrow or next week or next month, but the faith that you can do whatever you want to do if you're not religious. For me, it's like, for we walk by faith, not by sight. For me, that's faith both in myself and in God. And the other one was actually from the Avengers. That scene in Endgame when Thor goes back to talk to his mom just before his mom dies, and he gets the Infinity Stone, and his mom tells him, focus on who you are, not who you're supposed to be. And I think that's really important because, especially nowadays, like our generation, there's so much influence from the media and other external factors that sort of influence us in how we should be, how we should talk, how we should speak, how we should present ourselves. So I think it's important to remember that who we are is the most important thing, and we should be that person. So yeah, those are my top 2 best life advice that I've encountered in my 24 years. So yeah.
For me, I'm not big on the sayings on sayings, to be honest, but what my probably the one that I kind of relate to the most, the one that I've kind of hits me on different levels is it's a very simple quote. I don't know who it's by, but it's this too shall pass. it's such a great saying because you can
That's
take it
isn't
two
that,
different
that's
things.
Churchill. That's Churchill. I'm pretty sure.
Nah,
That's Winston Churchill.
nah, it's ages ago. It's beyond that. It's very old.
Oh no, it is. Yeah, no, yeah,
Very,
it
very
goes
old.
way back. Yeah,
The
yeah,
story
yeah.
behind that is like I don't know if it was a king or like some form of like higher like ranked person who wanted something to make him happy during the sad times and sad during the happy times. And so his jeweler or whatever, right hand man, decided to engrave something on his ring, and it said, "This too shall pass." I don't know if that's the real story, but for me, I use that obviously, like when shit's bad, it's it's a low light, but things are only going to be things will only be up from here. It's a great reminder to just keep at it. It'll pass. But at the same time, when you're on such a high, like when you think everything is going your way, for me, like I think it'll just be instinctively, like it'll just that quote will just pop in my head, and it wouldn't really make me sad. It would just kind of keep my feet on the ground, like keep me grounded, like, and kind of not. It's a great reminder for me to stay rational, not be too spontaneous, and yeah, again, it's just a reminder to appreciate that things are going well, but be prepared for the worst. And I wouldn't think of it as it's not necessarily a negative thing, like a negative mindset to have, but it's it's a great way to kind of summarize, like, we'll have highlights, we'll have lowlights, but you just take it as it is, and just as long as you know that it's such a great way to sum up life, in my opinion, because life's not always going to be or like downhill, and life's not always going to be about like having like lots of money and all the blessings you can get, and yeah, it's just a great way to put things into perspective.
Yeah, always love. Yeah, yes,
Sweet.